Hello everybody, this is the Gamer7 again. Now you may be wondering, what the hell is this bullshit? Well, this is a presentation. I decided, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do a presentation on the world of TTRPGs. Now this presentation is for any new people interested in the TTRPG setting. This this video isn't for seasoned veterans of the genre. So if you got someone who is interested in maybe trying out a TTRPG that they seem interested in, please show them this video so that we can give them some options. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now to start off, what in the world is a TTRPG? A lot of you may be thinking, well, what does this thing mean? Well, for you new players, a TTRPG or a tabletop role-playing game as it's known is a form of gaming set around being around, well, a table with pencil and paper role-playing out a character, usually with a set of dice and told to make certain actions passable or not. Now, I will get into some specifics here and there of some of the TTRPGs that I'll be listing off today, but I won't get into the nitty gritty of it. If you want some perspective, I've been around the TTRPG setting ever since I was in middle school. Now, the only one I was really familiar with at that time was, well, Dungeons and Dragons, which everyone knows about Dungeons and Dragons at some point. Now the thing is where do you begin? Now, I know that most new players would probably go with their first experience being probably most likely Dungeons and Dragons, but there's a whole lot more than just Dungeons and Dragons. There's so many TTRPGs that it could probably be a little overwhelming if a new player is not so known about a lot of the TTRPGs that are out there in the world. So I'll be listing off a few of the TTRPGs that come to mind for me personally. The disclaimer: I will not be listing every TTRPG in this presentation. That's for you to research if you don't find any of these particular ones your fancy. So, first off, the one I've been talking about in the beginning is Dungeons and Dragons, which everyone knows Dungeons and Dragons. It's been out for quite a few years. Well, I wouldn't say a few years. It's been around a while. Like a long, long while. I don't remember the exact date that the first ever edition came out, but I think it's somewhere around in the 19 maybe uh somewhere around 1980s. I'm probably wrong on that front. You can do that research. I was too lazy to figure out when D&D came out, but I know it's been out for a while now. Now, D&D is basically it's kind of like the I wouldn't say maybe I probably wouldn't be using these choice of words, but I can't really think of anything else. The poster boy of tabletop role playing games. Everyone knows Dungeons and Dragons. Your mom's probably told you about it. Your dad's probably told you about it. Maybe even your grandparents, even back in the day when they probably played this. Everyone and their family and their close relatives and their cousins and their friends knows about D&D or Dungeons and Dragons. And no, you're not going into dungeons and fighting dragons. That's that's just a joke that we like to say because it's Dungeons and Dragons. And yes, it's pretty funny. Because you think, oh hey, am I gonna go into a dungeon to fight a dragon? No, you're not in a dungeon, you're not even fighting dragons. You're fighting giant eldritch beings that will probably kill you in a cinch. However, your paladin has a level 19 spell that could basically boost it out of its existence. Yeah. So, to get down to the nitty gritty of it, D&D runs on a D20 system. And as you can see from this image right here, these are the common set of dice that you will be using if you want to play or get started in Dungeons and Dragons. Now, now the dice you'll be using the most often is, well, this dice right here, the D20, which is a 20-sided dice that is used for basically everything in the game. If you want to make a check, if you want to make a saving roll, well, if is you'll probably be making saving rolls. If you want to do some other thing, basically this dice is basically going to be your friend or enemy till the end of time. There's no escaping the D20. And then we have these other dice, which in most cases won't be used too often, but there are some exceptions to that, like for healing, or if you're rolling percentile for something like loot, or if or luck, or based on like something, if you'll get lucky or not, you'll be using the percentile dice. Now the percentile dice is a combination of this dice, which is called a percentile, and a d10, which is a 10-sided dice. Now together they're called the percentile dice, which you got your tens and you got your normal, well, singular digit numbers, with the exception of the 0 being a 10. You roll that and you get, well, whatever percentage you get. Now, a little disclaimer, there is a little bit of debate on this dice, because most DMs, or dungeon masters as they're called, can interpret this rule pretty differently. Like, they can say that if you get like a 3 with the double zeros, it might be a 3%, or if they're just feeling generous, it's going to be a 30%. But with the 10 and the 0, it's basically 100%. But so just so you know the rules, there are many DMs that have a different opinion of how they run this particular rule. So don't worry about it too much. Just make sure to ask your dungeon master how they run this thing. And an important thing to note is well, DM. Obviously, you need a DM, or a dungeon master, as I've been saying, which is basically the whole person that runs the ring show of cast of characters that you've created. And as for a starter TTRPG, it's pretty good. It gets you down to like the basics of like character creation. You get to learn how you use your dice, and also you'll have a pretty fun fantasy like adventure. Now, the main upsides of playing D&D is that it is very homebrew. It has got a lot of homebrew ability. Now, homebrew is basically just stuff that you got off the internet, and it's basically something that a person made to make the game better. Now, not all homebrew is a good idea. Some of it can be really broken and overpowered if not run properly over with a DM. But there are some exceptions to that, just so you know. And I think also, since it's a popular TTRPG at this point, probably not anymore, I won't get into what happened, but let's just say Wizards of the Coast did a very big oopsie, and angered the whole community. If you want to learn more about that, look up Wizards of the Coast's new OLG policy that happened some time ago, and you'll understand why the community was very pissed about that. But we're not here to talk about Wizards of the Coast and their oopsie. We're here to talk about starter RPGs. And Dungeons and Dragons is a pretty good start to anything, to any new upcoming person in the TTRPG genre. So if you want to get started off with that, you can. I would say the downside is it comes down to the edition you're playing. Now, I've played D&D 5th edition and I find it fine. However, there is a problem with some people that it's a little too simplistic. Certain things, like it's oversimplified. I've only heard it from one of my close friends who also has played D&D a lot longer than me, has played multiple different editions. And yeah, I can see where they're coming from, because in D&D 5th edition, a lot of stuff is oversimplified to some degrees. but in terms of that, it's also very accessible to play. Now, another edition that I have played is 3rd edition, which is a lot more complicated than 5th edition, but trust me, once you play 3rd edition, you won't regret it. It's a really good edition if you want to have a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more of a, I would say, sort of balanced type of game. It's a lot more fun. It's just that you'll be dealing with some more complicated rules in that edition. Now, the very bad downside is that even though there are multiple editions of D&D, the only edition that's accessible in like stores is 5th edition, which is unfortunate because the only way to get the older editions, if you really want to play the older editions, I highly recommend 3rd edition, is probably going through some other sites that sell old stuff like eBay or maybe Amazon if they have it. I'm not really sure. But either way, D&D is a pretty good starter for anyone trying out a TTRPG. So yeah. The next one we have is Savage Worlds. Now, Savage Worlds, I never played any games whatsoever, but I do know of them. And one of the first ever Savage Worlds that I was ever introduced to was Deadlands. Now you'll be wondering, now some of you may be wondering, wait, Deadlands, what is that? Well, don't worry. Deadlands is just a iteration of the Savage Worlds TTRPG. That's literally it. It's just Savage Worlds set in the Old West with ghosts and ghouls and gunslingers with magic. It's I find the setting to be pretty interesting because I love my cowboys and I've watched the old black and white movies. They're pretty good. I just really like cowboy stuff. But in general, Savage Worlds is a little bit more different than D&D. Instead of running on a D20 system, it runs on a D6 system. Now, I cannot go into the proper details because, again, I'm not too familiar with Savage Worlds, but I know of some of their works, and I must, and I don't really have any like expert opinion on that. If anyone would like to have their say if Savage Worlds is a good starter TTRPG, please tell anyone in the comments if you've been experienced with the Savage Worlds IP or anything relating to it. So thank you. But if you want to start with that, you can. But I just might say the rules will be a little bit different to D&D. I'm not sure how different they would be, but it's probably different. Another TTRPG that I actually really love the concept of is the Call of Cthulhu TTRPG. Now, for some of you who have a very keen interest in like Cthulhu or anything of eldritch horror, then this is the TTRPG for you. Now, in this game, it's pretty obvious. It's Call of Cthulhu. But however, the rules here are very different. And let me explain. You see, in Call of Cthulhu, you don't play an adventurer. You play an investigator. Which just gets to my next point. Next point is that in this game, this is more of like exploration and clue hunting type of situation. A very good TTRPG to roleplay in, but it's more set on the exploration aspect of the TTRPG world. You play as an investigator trying to solve the hidden truth that's wasn't really supposed to be known to anyone in the world, but instead you manage to find the truth and you're kind of scarred for life, which is mostly how Eldritch horror goes, is you find the eldritch truth and now your perspective is on a whole new level of what the hell do I do now? Now that I've seen this abomination that is lurking in the depths of the universe, of the cosmos, is ever watching. Anyway, in this one, most of your actions here revolve around mostly around the percentile. However, there's a catch. Unlike where you try to get the highest number to succeed, you have to get the lowest number to succeed. Because in this game, in how you separate skills for specifically 5th edition or 7th edition, I think it's 7th edition, is that as you can see here, there's this little box there's these 3 boxes. And these boxes represent the whole, half, and fourth number. This box at the top is the half number, which is how hard this check will be, and the other half, the fourth check, the fourth box is the extreme, which is basically which is basically almost impossible. You probably will not likely get this check, but it's possible. It's just going to be very, 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 very hard, and it's very unlikely that you'll ever succeed. So this game is a lot more brutal than D&D and probably Savage Worlds. I'm not really sure about Savage Worlds, but I know for sure it's a lot more brutal than D&D. Because, for one, you're not a souped up superhuman or a paladin. You're just a regular ass guy or gal who has a very high chance of dying, and you have sanity that you need to take care of, which cannot be regained very easily. It's very hard to get back any form of sanity. It's very difficult. Same with health. Health doesn't automatically generate when you rest. You have to actually heal yourself with bandages or medicine, and you have to wait one in-game day at a time so that your health can be restored to its normal form. Which is what I love because, well, in Call of Cthulhu, you're not fighting monsters. You're not fighting people or monsters. You're trying to figure out the truth of what's going on with your relative or your uncle or this certain town. And once you find the truth, everything just changes completely. And it's just on top of its head. And the more you get closer to the truth, the more insane your character will become. And when I mean death is like very, very, a very big threat in this game, you don't have much health. Your character will probably start out with either maybe 11, maybe 13 hit points, but the creatures in this game do a lot of damage. So going into combat isn't very advised, and it is not, well, it's just a horrible idea in general because guns hurt like badly. So if you're looking for a brutalist type of system where death is a very real threat, but you like exploring and you like Eldritch Horror, I would say maybe for some of you starting out in the TTRPG world, this may be the game for you. However, I wouldn't start with it quite right away because the learning the different numbers in your boxes can be a bit overwhelming for a new player who's never experienced anything of Call of Cthulhu. But with practice, you'll get used to it, and it'll be like second nature. Luckily, in the Keeper's book and the Investigator's Handbook, there is a chart, I think, for the listed values of the numbers that go in those 3 boxes. So you should be fine if you want to start out with this TTRPG. Now, the next one is my personal favorite, World of Darkness games. Now, World of Darkness is not just one book. It's a whole series of books based on the World of Darkness. Now, to give you some context, think our world right here. It's pretty normal, right? It's pretty normal, right? We go out and we go outside. We see the grocer out. We see the grocery store. We see our neighbor across the street. This is basically our world. However, in the world of darkness, everything is hidden behind the mundane. That 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 grocery store that you keep seeing, it probably has a coterie of vampires that look for their next meal, or that neighbor across the street is probably a guru, aka a werewolf, or when you go outside and see some strange guy just pushing a park bench with ease, even though it's like connected to the ground, that is a mage. In World of Darkness, everything is hidden behind the mundane, the normal world. In World of Darkness, it is a very gothic style of TTRPG. And there are a lot of books on many, many different things. And there's a lot. There really is. There's the most classic, Vampire the Masquerade. There's Hunter the Reckoning, Mage the Ascension, Changeling the Dreaming, Demon the Fallen, Mummy the Resurrection. Then there's Wraith the Oblivion, and then the Chronicle of Darkness series. Like, there's a lot of books. You'll be surprised how many books you'll find just on World of Darkness. If you searched up in your search engine World of Darkness, you will find so much information about it. And I actually really like it. My first ever start with it was when I bought my Hunter the Reckoning 5th edition book. And then after that, I bought my 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade raid book. And I just really love this series. I love this dark gothic atmosphere where you play as a vampire, trying to quell the beast within, or you're a wraith. You have died and you have to accept your death. You have to move on. You're the hunter. You fight for humanity's sake against the forces of darkness. You fight the vampire. You fight the werewolf. You take on the mage. Though, to be honest, you don't want to take on a mage because the mages can bend reality. Yeah, the World of Darkness books can get a little crazy at times. And when I mean crazy, I mean they can go off the rails really fucking quickly. Like, what I learned was that there was this evil burger place called O'Tally's, or O'Tally's, or whatever it's called, that is run by a death cult that owns a beer company, and literally they put demons. Yes, this is canon. Demons in their burgers and beer, and they do this so that they can convince random people to beat their wives. No, I'm not kidding. This is a real thing that has happened. This is canon in World of Darkness. You'll have to thank Alfabusa for enlightening me on that thing, because one, I didn't know that was a thing, and two, holy shit, it gets crazier from there. No, I'm not. It gets really crazy sometimes. So we got this gothic dark horror element, and we just have shit like that. But to be honest, it's kind of cool. Like the setting can go so off the rails in comedic value, yet at the same time there's still some horror gothic value to it. That's just like, well, okay, I guess I'm rolling with it. And it's just a really interesting series that presents itself as a gothic TTRPG, which it is. Yet then we have shit like that, just out of the blue. It's like, oh yeah, you know that burger place that puts demons in their cheeseburgers? Yeah, those are made to convince people to beat their wives. And you're like, what? Why? And the publisher's like, I don't know. By the way, the previous publisher of World of Darkness used to be White Wolf, which no longer is no longer here anymore. It is now owned by Paradox Interactives. If you're wondering, just a little fun fact. But yeah, if you want, and and uh and I must say, for character creation, it is the most simplest thing in the entire world. It is more simple than D&D. And I play D&D a lot. Literally, all you do is you allocate dots, and that's it. There's also more stuff like choosing your like what concept, like a concept, like it's kind of like a character hook, and you have to figure out what ambition your character has, what desires they have, and all the technical TTRPG stuff you'll get in the end. It's a very simple system that runs on a D10 system, and I really do like the setting a lot. I just wish I can play it. I have some unused characters, and yeah, I really want to use them. But yeah, that's World of Darkness. If you want if you want a dark gothic style TTRPG, and you just really like vampires and werewolves, or whatever suits your fancy, World of Darkness has it. Go ahead and play it. It's got a very excuse me, simple character creation, with the exception of Mage, because that book is huge as hell. And from what I've heard, it's it's a lot. So maybe don't start with Mage Ascension until you're comfortable with the other stuff, the other books before you try Mage. Because I'm telling you, the books, the Mage Ascension book, it's big and it gets complicated. And and also actually another upside is that there are so many editions, you can just pick whichever you want. Though fair warning, some of the books didn't age quite well, so if you're so you might want to be careful what content you consume, because there are some things in a few of the older books that did not age very well. So yeah, and if you want to find if you want to play old, like the very first ever World Darkness books, bear in mind some of them never got like 20th anniversary editions or 5th editions. The only ones with 5th editions that came out were Vampire the Masquerade, Hunter the Reckoning, and Werewolf the Apocalypse. Though, if you want to play an imbued from the old Hunter the Reckoning, you can just put that in 5th edition. Not all, even though the lore is all connected, you don't have to run your World of Darkness that way. It's like your World of Darkness. How do you see it? How does it work? So you're not forced to stick to this one thing. You can make whatever the hell you want. So yeah, if you like the sound of that, go ahead. Now, there are some obscure titles out there that no one really pays any mind to. I don't know any personally, but if you search around YouTube or anywhere else looking for TTRPGs that may have gotten some traction but are not really very popular, then you might want to check them out for yourself if you want to. Just letting you know, there are a lot of obscure titles that are not are like they're somewhat known, but not well known enough by the whole general public. So if you want to look for something that's a bit more of your fancy, go ahead and try some new stuff out. See what's beyond the norm. Now, unknown type. Now, this section I put in because you'll be surprised how I found this. So this game is called Carbon 2185, which is part of my favorite genre, a cyberpunk RPG. Now, I tried looking for images through the. I tried looking for image. I tried to look for an image on this slides. And it wasn't really pulling up anything, so I just had to grab one off Google. So yeah. So I don't own this image. This image is owned by the company that made Carbon 2185, Dragon Turtle Games Limited. And when I first found this, I was like, when I first found this book, I was like, well, let's see what cyberpunk RPGs I can play. And I stumbled upon, well, Carbon 2185, which was like, oh, damn, I've never heard of that. Let me check it out. And I tried it out. I ran a game, few games actually, and I'm very, very impressed. I really like the setting, and I really like the mechanics of the game. It's the character creation is a little similar to D&D 5e, which a lot of the stuff they got their a lot of the stuff for this book that was created, they got their inspiration from some D&D 5e mechanics, but and they tweaked them a bit, and well, we got Carbon 2185. Character creation. Now, in the normal D&D, you normally roll 4 dice and get rid of the lowest number to get your attribute stat. However, in this, you roll 2d6 plus 5, which is a lot more balanced in many ways, so that you don't have characters just going like power min-maxing some stats because they'll either get really good stats or just really bad stats. It's kind of like a nice healthy balance of both. And there are more mechanics I would like to speak out, but I won't waste your time with that because I'm going to be honest, no one I've ever met has ever heard of Carbon 2185, which I want this game to have more love. I want more people to play it, so I will be linking a store page to Dragon Turtle Games Limited if you really want to check out this TTRPG. I highly recommend it. I find it to be very fun. I love the character creation. I love the setting, and I just love it all around. So if you want to give um, Dragon Turtle Games Limited some love on this game, go ahead and check them out. And yeah, that's it for this presentation. This is me just this idea just came out of nowhere. Just like, you know what, I'm gonna make this to see what kind of traction it would get. It probably won't get too much traction, but if I manage to help someone spur their creativity or help them find a new hobby, well, then I did my job already. So, thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more videos of me, just make sure to like and subscribe.